Hi, my name is Dan Whitfield, and I'm an independent candidate for the United States Senate here in Arkansas. I believe that a government should be by the people, for the people. And that's why with my platform, I plan on giving Arkansans their voices back. I want my constituents to be able to vote on policy before I cast my vote in their name, because that's what I believe a representative should be, the voice of the people. We're facing these issues today that cross party lines. It doesn't matter if you're a liberal, if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat. Our representatives aren't representing us. We're the 49th poorest state in America, and we pay the 3rd highest sales tax. The reason for this? It's simple. It's because our representatives aren't concerned with what's best for us. They're concerned with what's best for their donors. That's why I've already pledged not to take any special interest money. I'm not going to take money from billionaires. I'm not going to take money from Walmart or Tyson. My campaign is purely grassroots. It's the people that are funding my campaign. These are the same people that I want to represent, the same people that I want to have a voice in the legislative system. If you believe that our government is supposed to be by the people, for the people, please check out my campaign. Look at my platform. And I think you'll like what you see. My name's Dan Whitfield. You can find my platform at www.danwhitcongress.us. Thank you. Good evening. My name's Dan Whitfield, and I have a very unique Bernie story. In 2015, Bernie Sanders woke me up. He showed me the corruption in our government. He showed me how our legislators are taking huge sums of money in exchange for favorable legislation that hurts their constituents and their families. That's why I decided to run for the United States Senate. That's why I'm running against one of America's most corrupt senators. Because he doesn't represent his constituents, he represents his special interest donors. We need to rise up. We need to take our government back from these donors and give it to the people in which it belongs. This is just the beginning of my Bernie story, and I can't wait to see how it ends. I wish y'all a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy this time with your families. May God bless y'all, and may God bless America.
Tom Cotton wants you to believe he's running unopposed for United States Senate. He's not. My name's Dan Whitfield. I'm a working class Arkansan and the independent candidate running to help the people of Arkansas unseat and replace Tom Cotton. We're not going to let ballot suppression take away the voice of Arkansans. You will have a choice in November. We need Medicare for all to protect the health and well-being of our citizens. We need to lower taxes for the working class, as well as holding corporations and billionaires that avoid taxes altogether accountable. We've got to get the money out of politics in order to give you a voice in the legislative process. Go to replacetomcotton.com to check out my direct democracy platform. My name is Dan Whitfield, and I'm here to give you the choice to have a voice. Tom Cotton wants you to believe he's running unopposed for United States Senate. He's not. My name's Dan Whitfield. I'm a working class Arkansan and the independent candidate running to help the people of Arkansas unseat and replace Tom Cotton. Morally bankrupt political elitists like Tom Cotton have spent untold tax dollars to make sure that you don't have a choice come election time. We're not going to let ballot suppression take away the voice of Arkansans. We've got to get the money out of politics in order to give you a voice in the legislative process. Go to replacetomcotton.com to check out my direct democracy platform. My name is Dan Whitfield, and I want to give you the choice to have a voice.
Hi, I'm Craig, and this is Crash Course Government and Politics, and today I'm going to talk about a topic in American politics that tends to drive people crazy! No, it's not partisanship or horse race journalism or the state of political punditry, although we could easily do episodes on all three of those, and we might. Nope, today we're going to look at the election districts and how they shape electoral outcomes, and that means, you guessed it, we're going to talk about gerrymandering. Thank goodness, gerrymandering is a blight on our American election system. It completely thwarts the will of the majority, and it's responsible for our lopsided House of Representatives. Not so fast, my left-wing sore loser friend. Gerrymandering is not nearly as responsible for the 2014 Republican Congress as the fact that people like you self-segregate into urban enclaves of socialism. All right, calm down, clones. Gerrymandering is a little more nuanced than that. Let's talk it out. Congressional apportionment, how many representatives each state gets, is super exciting, even though it only changes every 10 years. Since the number of representatives each state gets is based on population, it's important to know how many people are in each state. That's one reason, at least in the Constitution, that we have a census every 10 years. The most populous state, California, has the largest number of representatives, 53, and the least populous states have only one. Sorry, Alaska, Delaware, the Dakotas, Vermont, and Wyoming, and Montana, and the state of loneliness. One is the loneliest number. In those sparsely populated states, figuring out the election district, which geographic area is represented by a congressman, is easy because there's only one district. This makes elections in these states effectively at-large elections, like a state's choice for senator. Even though there are 2 senators from each state, they represent the entire state at large rather than only a part of it, like representatives are supposed to do. The Electoral College, the system through which Americans choose their president, are also a type of at-large election. The rest of the states are divided into what are called single-member districts. This means that each election district chooses one representative. Now, you might think it would be simple to divide a state into as many pieces as it has representatives, but why would you think that? Nothing is simple. Districts are required to be equal, or almost equal, in population, and in most states, populations are not evenly distributed across the entire region. The notion that election districts must encompass equal population is the essence of the idea of one person, one vote, a principle that was cast into law by the 1962 Supreme Court decision in Baker versus Carr. It means that a person's vote counts equally no matter where they live, at least as far as the House of Representatives goes. In the Senate, it doesn't actually work out because the resident of a small state like Delaware has the same number of senators, 2, as a resident of California. To put it another way, in 2014, 2 senators represented 897,934 Delawareans, and the same number of senators represented approximately 38 million Californians. In the House, each representative is responsible for about 700,000 to 800,000 people, which is still a lot, but much better than one senator for 19 million Californians or 13 million Texans. The idea that people should be equally represented in Congress shouldn't be controversial, and for the most part it's not. What is controversial is the way that minority groups are represented. One of the problems with single-member districts is that they can make it easier to cut minority groups out of the political landscape. After all, if in a given state only 15% of the residents are minorities, it will be more difficult for them to elect a member of their own group, even under a plurality rule, unless that person can appeal to a large number of non-minority people. Congress and the Supreme Court have tried to remedy this problem by mandating that there be majority-minority districts, which is a confusing way of saying districts where the majority of voters are members of a minority group. This is a little like affirmative action in the realm of voting, and as you might have guessed, there's a fair amount of disagreement among people who think a lot about it, although I'd bet that number itself is a pretty small minority. This idea of majority-minority districts leads us into a really fun aspect of congressional districting, the way that the districts themselves are drawn, a process known as gerrymandering after the 19th century political cartoon that depicted one particular Massachusetts district that looked like a reptile. Oh, there it is. Looks like a dragon or something. And we all know dragons are reptiles. The man responsible for this twisted district, the name of my band in high school, was Elbridge Gerry, hence the name gerrymander. So districts have to be drawn in a way that they contain roughly equal populations. So why does it matter if they look convoluted or even somewhat ridiculous, like this? Well, states don't just draw districts to make them equal in population, they draw them to capture certain population characteristics so that one party has a greater chance of electing a member from a particular district. In the district pictured here, the Illinois 4th, Chicago has been carved up to capture a certain population. Me. That's the district I live in. Usually, districts are drawn so that they can capture my vote, or a significant majority of one party or the other, virtually ensuring that a particular district will elect only a Democrat or Republican, as the case may be. You might have noticed that thin strip on the Illinois 4th's western edge connecting the upper half and the lower half. Look carefully and you'll see that it runs along the interstate, which I'm sure means that it has a huge population. Why do we do this? Because one of the requirements according to federal election law is that districts not only be roughly the same size in terms of population, but also that they be contiguous, meaning that they can't be divided completely by other districts. This requirement results in some pretty weird configurations. So who draws these cockamamie districts anyway? Well, they're done by state legislatures. Well, not legislatures themselves, but by people working at the behest of legislatures. If one party has a majority of the state legislature, say the Democrats, they usually want to draw the districts so that Democrats have a better chance of winning. Republicans do the same thing. This is why state legislature elections matter so much in census years. Whoever wins that year gets to redraw the districts. A couple of things to note here. First, there's no rule saying that states can't redraw their districts whenever they want. Texas tried to do this in 2003, not a census year, prompting its Democrats to run away to Oklahoma for a spell. Second, it's possible for a state to hand the task over to a less biased expert district drawing person, or group that might make districts more fair. Hand it over to me. I'll make them all look like little bunnies. But wait, you might ask yourself, what's wrong with this system and why do people think it's unfair? Let's go to the thought bubble. So imagine a state that's 60% Republican and 40% Democrat and has 5 electoral districts, like this one. Let's call it Clone-Sylvania. You could draw districts so that there were 3 Republican districts and 2 Democratic ones, accurately reflecting the state's population, like this. Or you could redraw it so that there were 3 Democratic districts and 2 Republican districts, which would be an inaccurate reflection of the party composition of the state's population. Or you could simply draw the district so that you had 5 Republican districts and 0 Democratic ones, like this. So you can see, especially in the second and third examples, how gerrymandering can result in districts that don't actually reflect the political makeup of a state at all. By now, you might be fuming at the injustice of state legislatures redrawing districts to make sure that the opposing party has no chance of winning national congressional elections. And you may have read a number of articles blaming gerrymandering for the composition of the current Congress and for making congressional elections generally less competitive. There are a lot of people who feel the same way. But there's a counter-argument that it's not the state legislatures that result in solidly Republican or solidly Democratic districts, but the fact that Democratic voters tend to cluster in cities where they often outnumber Republicans by a lot, so that states like Ohio, even though the numbers of Democrats and Republicans are pretty even with a slight edge going to Democrats perhaps, they all tend to concentrate in urban areas around Cleveland and Columbus, so that the overwhelming majority of the state's districts are won by Republicans. Thanks, Thought Bubble. Congressional districting is fascinating and really important for determining the composition of Congress, but it's also quite complicated, which, as with most things, makes it difficult to understand. But unlike some other complicated issues concerning policy, gerrymandering is one that's easy to criticize because the visual results are so striking and because it can result in numbers that just look unfair. This is probably why, come election time, you'll hear a lot about it. Now at least you'll have a better idea of what those pundits are talking about and you'll be better equipped to make your own decision about the issue. Luckily for you, there's more and more data about this stuff every election and always more to learn. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Crash Course Government and Politics is produced in association with PBS Digital Studios. Support for Crash Course U.S. Government comes from Vocal. Vocal supports nonprofits that use technology and media to advance social equity. Learn more about their mission and initiatives at vocal.org. Crash Course was made with the help of these less biased expert district drawing people. Thanks for watching.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name's Dan Whitfield. I'm the Democratic candidate running to unseat and replace Senator John Bozeman here in Arkansas in the United States Senate. Sorry, I did have some of my older content on there, some old commercials, and some videos on why I'm running for office. Because when I really need to remember why I'm running, I like to look back at old footage like that, and it helps bring me that extra energy and motivation on why I can't quit on you, on why I have to keep going. So thanks for bearing with me for all those old videos there. Now, I also showed a video about gerrymandering, because gerrymandering is a very important issue that a lot of people don't exactly understand why it's bad, but hopefully after watching that video, now you do. And why gerrymandering is so important here in Arkansas this year is we just finished our 2020 census, and this 2020 census data has been pushed back. And because we pushed the data release back, our state legislators who are in charge of our redistricting currently are not going to release the new district lines until October 2021, which is just a mere 3 months before the filing period. So it's very important that we make sure we contact our representatives and let them know how we feel about gerrymandering, and let them know that we want our districts our lines written in a fair manner, not one that is going to be lopsided towards the GOP, because currently our state redistricting is being managed by a completely GOP partisan group led by one of our most partisan senators in our state, Jason Rappert, the gentleman who just put in the anti-abortion bill and so on. So we have really got to keep an eye on the redistricting and make sure that our state isn't gerrymandered beyond belief, which unfortunately I'm scared that it is going to be. So we'll keep an eye on that, and as more information comes out about our redistricting here in the state, I'll make sure to let you all know. So I have a bit to talk to you guys about today, quite a bit actually, and I have some news, of course. So let's see. The first thing I wanted to talk about was, from now on, I'm going to be holding 2 live streams per week. Yes, 2. If one wasn't enough, now we're going to have 2. But it's going to be a little bit different, where every single Friday evening at about 8 p.m., I will host a live stream where I talk about legislation that's been happening here in Arkansas in our state. And then on Saturday, I will hold my regular live stream like this, which will be shorter, and it will be campaign updates and information and things in that manner. So I wanted to make sure that all Arkansans are having an opportunity to hear about the legislation being passed and going through our House, our Senate, and through the committees without having to force my campaign stuff down y'all's throats. So if you want to know more about the state and what's going on, make sure to check out my new live streams that are going to be starting Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Central. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is COVID. We're making a lot of progress with COVID. Biden did his announcement stating that all adults will be eligible to get a COVID vaccination on May the 1st. So that doesn't mean on May 1 you can just go and get your vaccination. It means you can start getting in line and getting queued for your vaccination. So that's awesome. We are getting to the point now where we are getting, I think we're already at we're getting close to 30% of our population vaccinated, which is amazing. Herd mentality isn't going to work. So that's going to kill countless people, as we've already seen with the 500,000 poor lost souls already. But this vaccination is really going to help. Now, I've been seeing a lot of posts and some misinformation out there about vaccines, so I want to clear this up as well real fast. If you get vaccinated, that doesn't mean you are immune to COVID. It doesn't mean that you can't contract it. It doesn't mean you can't spread it. You can be a carrier. If you get a vaccination, what it's going to do for you is it's going to make it so that if you do catch the COVID-19 virus, these side effects and symptoms won't be severe enough that it is going to be likely to kill you. Okay, so again, if you get vaccinated, you can still spread this virus. Make sure that you're still keeping your loved ones safe by staying socially distanced and wearing a mask, especially if they have not gotten their vaccine. So if your parents don't have the vaccine and you haven't seen them in months and you get vaccinated, that doesn't mean you can go up to your parents and give them big hugs, because there's still a risk of giving them COVID and them not having the reduction in symptoms that could cause them their lives. So that's very important to think about and to understand as vaccines are going out. Make sure, of course, our flu season was amazing this year. The numbers went down because people were wearing masks, socially distancing, and washing their hands. the flu virus didn't spread like normal. So that was really, really good. And because of that, we are still going to be wearing masks, my family, for our own safety and for the people around us, even after we get vaccinated for at least a few months until the virus has started to subside. Let me throw up some numbers here real quick for Arkansas. We have been making a lot of progress here in Arkansas. We are down to, 314 new COVID-19 cases today, which is a great improvement from where we were last month. And I think on average, we've been about 300 plus new cases per day, less than 400. So the numbers are starting to go down. Our total death count for Arkansas is now 5,455. So nearly 55 Arkansans have lost their lives due to this virus. It's not a joke. It's not a hoax. We've got to take it seriously until we have enough of our population vaccinated that even if someone catches the virus, they won't have to worry about possibly dying from it. All right. And moving on from that, we also are making really good progress on vaccinations here in Arkansas. So as you can see right now, we've already actually given 836,000 doses of the vaccine out, which is getting close to about a third of our population. And we have actually received 1.4 million doses. So I'd like to know where those other 500,000-600,000 doses are. We need to figure out how to take those doses that are just sitting there, make sure we get them out. I know I've been seeing some posts on Facebook from people stating, free vaccines here at this time. Everyone's eligible because they've got extra doses. So if you come across something like that on Facebook, make sure you share it to your friends. If you see that there is an establishment that has a lot of extra doses that they're handing out, send me a message and I'll post it on my page so we can get that information out there to get these doses given to people. All right. Also, it looks like Biden had announced that the military is also going to be involved in administering vaccines, which is great because we can't just get a bunch of doses. We have to have people that are trained to administer the doses. All right, so that's all I really wanted to say about COVID at the moment. We are doing good. Keep it up, y'all. Keep yourselves and your families safe. Thank you guys so much for taking this seriously. We have made progress. Now, we're nowhere near where we need to be because even March, April, May of last year, we still weren't at 300 cases per day. So we do need to make sure that we are still taking this just as seriously as it is. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about is we got the American Rescue Plan has been signed by the Biden administration. It passed the House, it passed the Senate, and it has now gone into law, which is amazing. Let's see here. Yay. So down in the corner, you can see right now, right here, unfortunately, our two senators both voted against the COVID relief. So when you get your $1,400 check, make sure you give Senator John Bozeman or Senator Tom Cotton a call and let them know how thankful you are for this stimulus package and let them know that you understand it wasn't because of them that your family received the $1,400 checks. All right. So there was a lot of controversy, of course, when it refers to like the pork and the bill and different things like that. So I wanted to read just a little bit about the bill so you can kind of understand where the money's going, because when they say 10% of the bill went towards COVID relief and 90% went to everything else, well, that's not necessarily true because COVID has impacted nearly every aspect of our lives in a severely burdensome way. And this economic relief is going to go towards getting jobs back, helping people who've lost money from their businesses, helping families who have incurred amazing amounts of debt, who have been falling behind on their mortgage, their rent, their car payments because they lost their jobs or because their jobs aren't paying as much money as they used to and things like that. So let's see here. Update on the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Congress just passed the relief bill and it is heading towards Biden's desk. So obviously this is minorly outdated and Biden has already signed this bill. It says, what does this mean for you? Stimulus checks, $1,400 checks for you and adult dependents, which was a big issue with the CARES Act. Checks will go to people making less than $75,000 annually and married couples making less than $150K. Check sizes phase down from there with a cap of $80,000 for individuals and $160,000 for couples. The child tax credit on top of that, households making less than $150K will receive $3,000 per child
$3,600 for those less than 5 years of age, and the tax credit will be advanced income in the form of monthly payments starting in July. Wow, that is just so much relief for so many Arkansan families. It's amazing. This rescue plan has actually already been predicted to reduce childhood poverty by 50%. And when we live in a state here in Arkansas where 1/4 of the children here live in poverty and are food insecure, it only means positive things for Arkansan families. All right. Unemployment benefits continued at $300 per week. Jobless benefits extended to August 29th. Additionally, the first $10,200 in unemployment benefits you received in 2020 will not be taxed if your total income was less than $150,000. Wow, this is all really good stuff for Arkansan families. Small businesses support $25 billion in grants specifically for restaurant and bar relief. An additional $7.2 billion for Paycheck Protection Program loans, with a new Community Navigator program to reach small businesses who were unable to access the PPP loans in 2020. So again, this is going to be helping small businesses, the ones that suffer the most. So many employees who tipped earners, waitresses, waiters, delivery drivers, a lot of these people who were severely impacted by COVID-19 are finally getting relief. This is amazing. COVID vaccine, $14 billion dedicated to vaccine distribution. Health insurance subsidies, 100% COBRA subsidies to ensure that laid off workers can remain on their employer health plans at no cost through the end of September 21. Wow. So if you were laid off and you had employment health insurance and you no longer had employment covered health insurance, now you'll have your health insurance back until the end of September. So that's a good stuff again. All right, and then the rest is just opinion stuff. So really good stuff coming from the COVID relief bill, which was deemed the American Rescue Plan, and it has been signed. I believe I've already been seeing posts on social media how people have already started receiving their $1,400 checks. So keep an eye on your bank, keep an eye on your mailbox, and I'm so thankful that this administration was able to give so much relief. Now, personally, I don't think it's enough. I think that we should have $2,000 every single month until the end of the pandemic. If we were to do something like this, then we wouldn't have had to worry about the government shutdown for so long and the collapse of our economy. We can look at models and data in, for example, let's say New Zealand. In New Zealand, they took COVID seriously. They shut all businesses down. They put people in their homes, had a lockdown. 2 months. Now, during that 8-week period, their government actually gave every single person $595 per week. And they did that for 2 months. And after 2 months, I believe they had 0 new COVID cases. And they were able to reopen their country, get their economy right back rolling, and they were good to go. If we would have done that in the United States of America back in March, we would have completely eliminated COVID by June, and then we could have had our economy rolling several months ago. But unfortunately, a lack of administration efforts prevented that from happening. So that's the American Rescue Plan. Let me go ahead and get these two dudes off of your screen. Yeah, awesome. So let's see here. Another thing. Where do I have this one here? Let's see here. Senator John Boozman, he is running for re-election. He was actually endorsed by Donald J. Trump, and he was grateful to have President Trump's endorsement for re-election to Senate. We worked together to lower taxes, roll back regulations, secure the border, defend our Second Amendment rights, and protect life. All right, so we can all see that this is just a lot of GOP rhetoric. That really didn't happen. They lowered taxes for billionaires, yay. And in fact, the taxes that they had lowered minutely for the working class are actually going to be ballooning back up so that they'll be higher than they were before. Let's see, secured our border. Well, they built part of a border wall. I don't know how much it helped, but hey, it cost us $25 billion, even though Mexico was apparently going to pay for it, but they didn't. We did. So $25 billion out the door. This kind of sucks, especially here in states like Arkansas, where, like I said earlier, 25% of children live in poverty and are food insecure. Kind of a waste of $25 billion. But all right, defend our Second Amendment rights. Well, I don't really know how they defended Second Amendment rights because no one was really coming after Second Amendment rights in the first place, asking for background checks personally. And I know I have had some people disagree that that having a background check performed is constitutional or unconstitutional. But the fact is that the Supreme Court of the United States of America deemed background checks are, in fact, constitutional. So I don't think background checks are an infringement on our Second Amendment rights. And protect life. Well, unfortunately, they try to protect life until birth. I find the GOP, they're the party of protect life until birth and then hang them out on their own for rugged individualism after. And we have seen that here in Arkansas with the anti-abortion laws that were just passed, which I guess that's the next thing I was going to talk about briefly. So our Governor Asa Hutchinson did in fact sign the anti-abortion bill here in Arkansas. And what I find very interesting is that while he was signing this bill, he acknowledged it's unconstitutional. He said, well, this bill is unconstitutional. Let me sign that. Are you kidding me? That is just insane to me. So now we taxpayers, Arkansans, are going to have to spend our money defending an unconstitutional bill in front of the United States Supreme Court. It's just an absolute waste of money. But yeah, let me get off that. Anyways, Bozeman was endorsed by Donald Trump. Now, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is running for our governor, and she was also endorsed by Donald Trump, and she has announced that she is working together with Senator John Bozeman for their re-election campaign. So they will be teaming up and working towards his re-election and her replacement of Asa Hutchinson. All right, get that off of there. Another interesting thing that happened this week was Jan Morgan announced she will be running against Senator John Bozeman in the Republican primary. Jan Morgan. A lot of people will be like, well, who's Jan Morgan? Well, she used to work for Fox News. Let's just start there. Let's continue with, she is the woman who owns a gun range in the Hot Springs area that had a no Muslim zone sign on the door. That's nice. And then she also is the lady who... then her establishment, her place of business, uses a Kaepernick jersey. Colin Kaepernick, the gentleman fighting for Black Lives Matter, the gentleman who donates millions and millions and millions of dollars to his local community, to children. She has his jersey as a doormat in her place of business. It is absolutely disgusting and disgraceful, and I just don't understand how someone so racist and hateful like that could even run for office. She ran against Asa Hutchinson for governor, I believe in 2018, and lost to Asa in the primaries. So now she's running for United States Senate against Bozeman, and she will most likely lose in the primaries as well. But what this does for us is this gives us an opportunity. I was in a meeting just the other day, and someone brought up just the best way to put the Democratic Party in Arkansas together in words. So in Arkansas, we have the Republican GOP, and they work together hand in hand. If they don't agree on something, they don't really care. They're Republicans. They're going to vote for Republicans. That's the way it is. When I was running as an independent, needed to get my 10,000 signatures before COVID, I was standing outside the primary voting areas and 100 yards away, and I was getting signatures to get ballot access. And several times, I don't even know how many times, I mean, maybe at least 20 times, when I asked someone if they would sign to help me get my name on the ballot against Senator Tom Cotton, they would say, oh, well, he's a Republican and I'm voting all Republicans, down ticket, no matter what. Okay, thank you, have a good day. Kind of how those conversations will go. The GOP works together. Now, the Democratic Party is fragmented. We've got moderate Democrats, we have conservative Democrats, we have left-wing and progressive and liberal and blue dog and yellow dog and all these different kinds of Democrats. Well, it's really tough because it's like we have the GOP, a man in a trench coat, and then we have the Democratic Party, 3 men in a trench coat. So it's really tough to unify the Democratic Party here in Arkansas, and that's something we really have to work on as we look towards the 2022 elections, because it is now more important than ever to come together, unify, mobilize, and organize in order to take our state back from the GOP, who has the just super majority in our state, and start to flip Arkansas blue in 2022. We can do it, but it's going to take unity. And I think we can get there because we have, again, this unique opportunity where we're going to have infighting in the Republican Party for the first time in a while. So while we are letting the Republicans fight in their primary and divide themselves, we can use this opportunity to unify, organize, mobilize, and get the attention we need. Get the people out there to vote that we need to vote. We need to get people registered to vote. We need to go to schools. We need, it's 2021 right now. We have juniors in high school that are going to be able to vote next year. We need to talk to high schoolers. We need to talk to college students. We need to talk to the big blocks of voters that don't vote historically. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have a democratic revolution here in Arkansas. We can do it. We had the lowest voter turnout in the country. I believe we only had 55.5% of eligible voters show up to vote. And I think it was even worse than that. Like 36% of eligible voters didn't even go vote. So we need to change these numbers and go from one of the lowest voting turnout states to some of the highest voter turnouts that the country has ever seen. And we can do this, but it's going to take energetic, exciting politicians. It's going to take people who get voters to want to go to the polls to vote for them. And the way we're going to do that is with policy. That's how you get people excited. You get people excited with policy. You talk about things like Medicare for all. With Medicare for all here in Arkansas, oh my gosh, the average household income in Arkansas is $40,000 a year, and the cost for Medicare for all is 4% of your income after $29,000. So $40,000 minus 29 is 11. 4% of $11,000 is $440 per year. The average Arkansan household will pay for medical, vision, and dental, and I believe hearing as well. I mean, it's just $440 a year to cover your whole house. That's going to get people excited to go vote. We need to talk about things like eliminating student debt, 2-year college tuition free, trade schools, vocational training, tuition free. We need to focus on the education in our country. That way we can start building our foundations up. And then when we come into this era of automation, we won't have a 40% unemployment rate by 2035, which is what's already estimated. There's so many different things that we can do to get people excited to vote. Eliminating student debt, $1.7 trillion. When we bailed out big banks back after they screwed us all, millions of people lost their homes while bank executives and CEOs made out with millions and no one went to jail. We bailed them out to the tune of $16.8 trillion. We can afford to have the banks bail us out for $1.7 trillion to eliminate this overwhelming burden on so many working class families and help them get back to having a better mental health, better participation in our society. And it would just all around overall be better for our GDP. Oh man, I've got all these comments. I've got comments on everything right now. Yes, Antonio, I do read chat. Thank you. I'm streaming on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and I have so much to talk about, but I will read all these comments. I will get to them. This is an update Q&A, so if you have any questions throughout this live stream, ask me, and I will make sure I read your question and answer it in a timely manner. All right, so there are, again, other things we can also do to get people excited to go vote. Now, we need to work, of course, on lowering taxes for the working class and enforcing taxes on billionaires and giant multi-billion-dollar corporations that are currently avoiding taxation altogether. Now, by forcing these tax evaders to pay taxes, we can lower taxes on the working class by a significant amount, and our tax revenue would stay the same. Things like this get people excited to go vote. What if I told you your family doesn't have to pay a 25% income tax next year? They're only going to have to pay, say, 15%. And we're going to make sure that a billionaire like Donald Trump doesn't get away with paying $600 while your family paid $6,000. How does that sound? Would you go vote for that? Would something like that get you to go vote? I think so. Another thing that's really important is the federal decriminalization of cannabis and nationally expunging cannabis convictions. So many Americans have had their lives affected in negative ways by cannabis, either just tiny minor possession charges follow people for their lives. We need to get rid of all of these charges, make sure that no one is in prison for doing something, say in Arkansas, that someone is doing in Washington or California or Colorado or Oregon or Alaska or any of these other legal states legally as a business and a means of income. We have to do things like that. Republican voters. So many Republican voters use cannabis and have had their lives negatively impacted by cannabis, and that will even get Republican voters to vote for Democrats. You got to get people excited with policy. That's how we're going to take our state back. And those are just a few examples that, just contain huge blocks of voters that don't vote. So that's something that we are going to be working on. And on top of that, I was going to save this kind of for last, but the Democratic Party of Arkansas committee just finished a committee meeting, and they have some very exciting news. Wow. Let me go ahead actually and pull this up on Facebook so I can read this quote directly without botching anything. Let's see here. Let me pull this up here. All right, here's the group, and here we go. We had a DPA executive committee session at 9 a.m. today, followed by a state committee meeting that lasted until 2 p.m. The biggest item on the agenda was filing fees for state-level positions, and it was voted that from now on, it will be zero for any seat which has no Democratic incumbent. Yes, you heard it, zero. For U.S. Congress, the fee has been cut in half, from $10,000 to $5,000. Now, it doesn't say U.S. Senate. Senate is, of course, a branch of Congress. I'm not sure if they cut our filing fee from $12,000 to $6,000. It's not clear yet. Now, the rationale behind this is not new and was debated upon last year, but this time it passed with big numbers. The prospects of Democrats from any place, any financial means being able to stand for election looks very good. We looked at the pros and cons, but it was decided to take this step, and I am now convinced it will be a good one. I was initially hesitant to go all the way down to zero. The other big item was to reaffirm the Democratic values to show our solidarity against those who vote in line with the Republicans in our state Senate on multiple bad bills. Ping, Larry Teague. There will be many other rules and items that will be discussed and voted on the next meeting and the full quorum and blah, blah, blah. Did you all hear that? If you want to run for state Senate against someone like, say, Bart Hester, Bob Ballinger, maybe Jason Rappert. Actually, he's running for lieutenant governor. But hey, you can run for lieutenant governor at 50% off of the original cost to run for lieutenant governor. You can run for these seats and you don't have to worry about bankrupting your family in order to do it. So that is huge news for here in Arkansas. I mean, I got goosebumps when I first heard. That's so awesome. When you have 66 Republicans run unopposed in a state, and then our state legislative body is so GOP majority that it's 78-22, there's a problem. And this is going to help fix that problem. So thank you all, everyone who's part of the DPA, the committee, who voted to lower these filing fees to make sure that we never, ever have a Republican run unopposed again. Thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys rock. All right. So moving on. Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so excited, y'all. If you want to run for office, make sure you reach out. And the first thing you do, decide, do you want to run as a Democrat? Do you want to run as an independent, a Republican, a Libertarian, a Green Party? When you decide how you want to run, if you want to run as a Democrat or Republican, reach out to your local county party. They will help you get going. If you want to run as an independent, it is a lot more difficult. When I had ran as an independent in this last season, I had to figure everything out myself, and I don't ever want anyone to waste that much time and effort figuring out how to run. Reach out to me, and I will help you get everything going. So if you want to run for office, please reach out to someone so that we can make sure no Republican is running unopposed or no Democrat is running unopposed. There should never be an unopposed candidate because no one should serve in an elected office without receiving a single vote. All right. Let's see, Abdul. All right. Cool. Gotta love some pessimists and trolls. Trolls are awesome. All right, moving on here. I've got so many Facebook comments. Before I continue, because my next thing I'm going to talk about is legislation that's happened in our state over the last week. Let's see. And thank you, Janie, for posting the topics on there. Yes, a lot of people are excited about their vaccines. I know, I'll take their check too. I would love to pay off some interest on my credit card. That would be great. And $75,000 a year is really good for Arkansas. I mean, that's almost twice the average household income. Oh, awesome to see you got your vaccine, Carriewood. That's really cool. I guess you're actually sitting at the hospital right now, tuned in. So let us know how you feel and how you do after your 15-minute reaction time wait. Yeah, that's what I've been seeing. The debate about background checks as Fourth Amendments, proving that you're innocent and being accused of, or proving innocence over guilt and things like that. I just don't think it's unreasonable as long as we make sure that performing a background check isn't severely burdensome towards the person purchasing a firearm. It shouldn't be $20 or $25 or $50 to have the background check done. It should be automated. It should be a streamlined process where you call a number, you enter in the information, or even nowadays, most people have a smartphone. You should be able to just go online to a form, enter the information, maybe a $1 processing fee, 99 cents, and then the background check is complete. The person the purchasee is not a felon, and you sell them the firearm. It's pretty simple, I think. See, Mr. Jim, hey, Dan, is there a single PAC that is acceptable for a Democratic candidate to accept a donation from? So there are different PACs that are acceptable, but what I would suggest is, I mean, there's a million different PACs out there. I would go to opensecrets.org, type in the PAC name, and see where their money is coming from before you decide to take money, say, from that PAC. That way you know where your money's coming from, and you're not taking it from any special interest or dark money. Mr. Jim, I ran against Bob Ballinger in 2018. We need a challenger to run against him in 2022. I can't myself commit one way or another to help. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Jim, again for running. We just need more people to run, and we need to make sure that we start to get people who actually care about their communities and not special interests or donors. That's what we need. We need regular working class people to start to run for office. All right, through all of that. Oh, you're in Theta, Abdul. Awesome. My wife has some Theta as well. I believe crypto gains are already taxed, just so you know. All right. So that's all the questions there. All right. So Jan Morgan, Bozeman. All right, let's see here. I think I'm almost done. Oh, I didn't even get to show this little graph of, this is for you, Abdul, to see kind of where the money is going and coming as far as the American Rescue Plan. I'll go ahead and I'll leave that up there while I talk about a couple other things, and then I'll take this graph off just so y'all can look at it briefly. But let's see here. So Hutchinson signed the anti-abortion law and acknowledged it was unconstitutional. There's a few different pieces of legislation going around our state right now. Number one, we have House Bill 1570, which is deemed the SAFE Act. Now, what this does is it passed the House, and it was referred to the Public Health and Welfare and Labor Committee in the Senate. Now, what this is going to do is this is a direct attack on trans children, and this is completely unacceptable for this bill. Now, we need to keep an eye on SB 1570 to see if it passes through the Senate. How about my Tilray options? My Tilray options are gone. I've already sold my Tilray options. Thank you, though. Let's see. Abdul Wahid. Oh, is that you there, Striker? Nice. All right. So continuing right along, we have oh, and I guess this is actually really important to mention as well. Just another stain on Arkansas, unfortunately. When they were voting on HB 1570, the SAFE Act, in the House, we actually had a House member from District 73 call trans kids abominations. How can the word abomination refer to a child in one of the most sacred places in our state? So I hope, I think her name was Mary something or another. Let's see here. I am going to look up her name because we all deserve to know what her name is. Legislators, search. Let's see, district. We'll search by district. Go down to 73. There we go. Mary Bentley. Mary Bentley of Arkansas, House District 73, called children abominations. Important stuff. Remember that when you go and you vote in 2022. All right. Moving on, we have SB 354, which passed the House and passed the Senate, and it discriminates against trans children in school sports. So what this bill has done was it made it so that a child who was born one gender cannot participate on the other gender's school sports teams. So basically, no trans kids in school sports. And I believe there's also an amendment in there that made it so that if a school plays against another school who has a trans athlete on their team and they lose to that team, they can sue for monetary damages. I mean, it's just absolutely barbaric and absurd. That's SB 354. It passed the House, passed the Senate. We need to make sure to reach out to Asa Hutchinson and let our governor know that this bill is unconstitutional, that it is discriminatory, and that he must not sign this bill. We have SB 485, which we need to be aware of. It hasn't passed the House yet. It's still in committee. But SB 480 or 354, blah, so many different numbers written down here. What it does, or I'm sorry, SB 485, it changes the early voting final day. So right now, you can actually vote up until Monday before the election. And it's going to change it so that you can only vote up until Saturday before the election. Now, that only sounds like 3 days, but what's important to look at here is the people who write these bills. I mean, you can use the Freedom of Information Act and get this information yourself if you are a deep researcher and want to get into it, but they can decide, they can see who voted on the Monday before, who voted on the Sunday before, who voted on the Saturday, and so on. They can see how many people in what party, the block, and when they see, oh, well, the majority of people that voted on the Sunday and Monday before the election were Democrats, so we're going to eliminate the Sunday and Monday before the election and make sure people have to vote by Saturday. It's just another form of voter suppression. So we have to make sure bills like SB 485 do not make it past the House, the Senate, or into law. Now, what's interesting also, of course, I was talking earlier, one thing we really do need to do as well is we need to make voting day a national paid holiday. We need to make sure that people are not penalized through their work, that people are able to go vote in a timely manner, and that we don't have to worry about people not voting because they couldn't get the time off of work. We have to make voting day a national paid holiday. And the last bill that I was going to talk about today is House Bill 1701. Now, House Bill 1701, what it will do is it will allow teachers in public schools to teach creationism. Now, I'm not saying it is bad to teach creationism. I'm saying it's not accurate because evolution has been proven. It is not a theory. So if you want to teach religious values in schools, keep it to private schools, keep it to Sunday school, keep it to your place of worship, your church. It is no place, public school is no place to force creationism theories that have been disproven onto young, impressionable minds. All right. And those are just some of the extremely partisan bills that have been talked about this week in legislation. And like I said, what I'm going to do from now on, Friday evening at 8 p.m., I will go ahead and I'll do a live stream and I will have each of the different bills written out. And I will make sure that... Oh, let me get this graph gone now. I'll make sure that we talk about everything that's going on in our state, because even whether or not you like me, you don't like me, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're an alien, it doesn't matter. We still need to understand what's going on in our state. That way we know how to contact our legislators and how we tell them we want them to vote on these issues, because they will listen. They will. Reduce filing fees. Another thing that's really important is law enforcement reform. That is a big part of my platform, and law enforcement accountability is one of those things. It is 1 year now since Breonna Taylor was murdered in her house, in her bed in the middle of the night, and there is still no justice for her or her family. So what a lot of people don't realize is how often things like this happen and how rare it is for something like this to make it into the national spotlight, into media. So we don't even know how often things like this are happening. But we need to make sure we get justice for Breonna Taylor. We need justice for George Floyd. There's so many different people that need justice right now, and it doesn't seem to come. How many lives could she have saved? She was an EMT. She was studying, had a scholarship to become a nurse. How many lives would she have saved in this last year if hers was not unjustly taken? Very serious things to think about. For the upcoming week, I don't have a whole lot going on. I will be speaking at the Boone County Democratic meeting this Tuesday on March 16th. So if you're in Boone County, make sure you hop on. Pay attention to your party meetings now. It's more important than ever to be in touch with them, to participate. And if you are able to run for office, if you are passionate about politics, if you want change for your family, participate in your county meetings. And then also we have the Best Practice Institute coming in. Let's see here. That's not the one. This one here. Awesome. So basically the Best Practice Institute, it's a project by the Democratic Party, and it is a free, completely free, $0 cost course on how to run for office and how to manage a campaign. This is awesome. What better time to find out about a program like this when we find out that we have $0 filing fees? So this is the website. I don't know if it's hard to read on there. Maybe let me make it a little bit bigger real quick. There. It's a little bit bigger for y'all. Let me move this down. arcdems.org/campaign-training-program-launching. And this is actually tomorrow on March 14th is the last day to sign up. So if you are interested in running for office, and you can always just sign up and decide you don't want to do it later, go to this website, sign up for the 6-week free course, and learn how you can make your community and your state a better place. Because we need more, like I said earlier and time again, we need more working class families, working class people who understand how the legislative decisions they make are going to affect the working class. We need people that are in touch to be representing us and to be in charge of voting on whether or not laws are constitutional or unconstitutional and what laws are going to be best for our families. So I'm going to actually leave that website up there for the rest of my live stream because I'm just about done. Let me go ahead and read through some more questions on here. Let's see. All right. Oh, no problem, Shauna. I mean, whether or not people agree with me, I'll always be honest, and I'll try to keep everyone up to date on what's going on. What certified teacher in a public school would do that, though? I would be embarrassed. And that is very true. It's going to be discretionary on the teaching staff. You're not going to be forced to teach creationism in the state if this law passes. So don't worry about that. It's just the fact that in public schools, it will be allowed to be taught. When my wife teaches our daughter about God, I think that that's something between them and between their church than it is between a teacher and a child. That's my personal opinion. I am a firm believer in a separation between church and state. And you are exactly right, Mr. Jim. Every time. All right. Well, man, I'm only 44 minutes into my live stream. I guess it's going to be a fairly short one tonight. I'm making some chicken cucumber sushi for dinner, so I'm excited. I might get that started a little bit earlier than thought. But awesome. Now, my website, it's danforarkansas.com. As you can see down in the bottom corner, you can see my policies, see all that stuff. Oh, and as far as my 2020 court hearing for ballot access, so that whole case that's been going on for like over a year now almost. Oh man, not over a year. About 10 months. I do have my court hearing coming up. It will be on the 18th, which is going to be this upcoming Thursday. Now, it will be done via Zoom. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the federal judges don't want us live streaming these court hearings, which I think is silly because it's a public event. They're okay with people going and sitting in there, but not us live streaming it. But I will make sure to keep y'all up to date throughout the day on what happens with our court hearing for ballot access, because we are working on setting some precedent to make sure that we no longer allow ballot suppression here in Arkansas. Let's see here. Let me do this and message will be hidden. There we go. Awesome. That solves all those problems. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Make sure you do register for this arcdems.org training if you want to run for office. Even if you're not sure, just register for it. Unfortunately, we won't know our district lines until October, as I had mentioned earlier. So just do everything you can to be prepared just in case. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Go to my website. You have all my contact info on there. I answer all my own phone calls, emails, text messages, social media messages, all that good stuff. If you ever have a question, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll answer your question as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for your support. I mean, you guys have just been awesome throughout these last few years. We're just getting started. We've got the energy. Our momentum's growing. We are going to flip Arkansas blue in 2022. I can feel it in my bones. And I'm going to do everything I can to help organize and mobilize to make sure that that happens. But thank you guys so very much. You guys have a good evening, a safe weekend. I know we might have some storms coming in, so stay safe, stay aware. May God bless y'all. May God bless America. And may God bless Arkansas.